There are hundreds of different rock light products you can get, and nobody's going to go out and buy all of them and figure it out, but you do probably do your research on YouTube and Amazon and everywhere else to try and figure out what works. Here at Headlight Revolution, we do lighting better because we test. And today we're testing rock lights. I haven't tested these myself, so I'm going to bring you along with the journey. So whether you use them on your brodozer or your true off-road rig, we're going to talk about 5 things that you need to keep an eye out for when choosing your rock lights. Before we dive in, I'm going to talk about what I'm looking for in each of these 5 categories. In terms of mounting, what I'm looking for is something easy to mount. I don't want to have to Swiss cheese my vehicle. I want something that will just go effortlessly on the vehicle so I don't have to spend hours drilling, mounting, and aligning. In a perfect world, you're going to want either 1 in the absolute middle of the wheel well, centered, shining down, or 2, 1 in each corner of the wheel well, shining at different angles to cover the entire wheel and suspension. When it comes to wiring, I'm looking for something that has waterproof connections, comes with enough wiring to do my entire vehicle, wires that are long enough to reach the front and the back of my vehicle, and just wiring systems that are easy to use and make sense. When it comes to control, I'm looking for something that was designed in a system for switching or controlling it in some way. If I have to come up with my own switching system, that's going to be less than ideal. When looking at color, not only are we looking at the quality of the color, I'm also looking at how many different color options they have. Do they have single color options or RGB, RGBW? Let's find out. And then brightness. In my opinion, bright is best. What I'm really looking for is something that I only need to put 2 pods per wheel well into. If I've got to put 4 or 6 rock lights in each corner of my vehicle to get the desired effect, that's a problem. First, let's talk about KC HiLites and their Cyclone rock light kit. I've seen them advertise the Cyclone product in more applications than just rock lights. They've used them for signage, for forward and rear facing indicators, for lighting up truck beds and under the hood of your vehicle. So this wasn't a purpose-built rock light as far as I can tell. However, they did a good job at figuring out some clever mounting solutions for the rock lights. Here it is, the Cyclone from KC. The back side is this black metal with heatsink. The front side is a colored lens, and there's a hole in the middle. The way it works is they come with different types of mounting brackets. Here's an angle, and then the hardware kit comes with different types of screws and bolts. You've got these large stainless bolts with nylon insert nuts, and then you've got some pretty long self-tapping Phillips metal screws. The idea here is you would decide where you want this bracket in your wheel well, and then you would put the Cyclone on it like so. You would feed the bolt through and install your nut. And then you're supposed to use the other screws to actually mount it in place so you can have it pointed in really any direction that you want. For the most part, this works pretty good, but they've got another cool option if you're not into drilling holes. If you've worked on your truck, underneath the wheels, you've probably seen little plastic push rivets or push pins that hold everything in place. All those plastic liners that keep dust, mud, and rain out of your engine bay and out of your subframe. Check out this cool little invention that they made that allows you to replace your stock push pins with a mount for the Cyclone. Next, let's talk about wiring. The KC HiLites Cyclone rock lights have a red wire and a black wire coming out with these crimped terminals. And then they have a corresponding wire kit. As you can see, this is a pretty long harness, and depending on how many rock lights you have, they give you a short cable and a long cable. That way you can reach the front and the back of your vehicle. The way it works is you connect black to black and red to red, and then you run the rest of the cable up to your distribution block. The distribution block looks like this. It's essentially a universal fuse block that taps into your battery, and then it distributes the power to each of your rock lights by connecting the ring terminal wiring directly to it. This is a very stout way to do wire distribution, and it's kind of an old school method. For ground distribution, you get another central ground post that all of your grounding wires go to, and then they supply you with a switch like this little red illuminating rocker with the appropriate wiring to run from the fuse block to the switch. So you do have to run the wiring into your vehicle, drill a hole, mount the switch, hook it all up, but in general, it comes with everything that you need and the wiring is long enough to fit a full-size truck. Now let's talk about control. The KC HiLites system for controlling the lights consists of a fuse block, a ground distribution system, and a wire harness that goes to this red rocker switch. So the fuse block distribution panel under the hood that goes to the battery is actually very high quality. Everything goes directly to it, all the wiring is long enough, and then it goes to the switch in your dash. If you're okay with popping a hole in the dash and using the supplied switch, you can do that. This system is also compatible with other universal switch kits. Next, let's talk about color. Starting with the KC HiLites Cyclone, they're only available in single colors. Now this is the Cyclone V1. I'm pretty sure a V2 is coming out soon, and we'll see if they come out with anything else. But as far as color goes, it's a very good looking color. And it's currently not available in RGB, and I don't know if it ever will be. All right, now let's talk about brightness, the thing everybody's here for. Are these bright enough to put on my vehicle? Even though they're a good system, they got a good color, good wiring, the KC HiLites Cyclone is one of the least bright variants that we tested. It's a high quality system, but if your goal is maximum brightness, I don't think you're gonna find it from KC. Up next, we have the Profile Performance Pixel Rock Lights. I wanted to show you this one next because do you see what I'm seeing? It kind of looks like there were some design elements borrowed from KC HiLites with this round design with the hole in the middle. So let's see how they stack up. Did Profile Performance improve the design or just rip it off? Profile Performance Rock Lights have my all-time favorite mounting solution that I've ever seen. Not only do they have these low profile yet sturdy metal mounting tabs on each side that allow small screws to go in. They've got these awesome little optional magnet mounts that use the screw in the middle that sticks out a little bit in the back, and it threads on like this. Now if you've got anything steel, this will pop up and just stick to it, and you are not getting that thing off easily. It's definitely strong enough for this application, and there's no drilling or screwing or putting holes in your fender liner required. If you've got anything steel under your wheel well, this guy pops on and doesn't go anywhere. This is the best mounting solution of any rock light you'll ever see in your whole life. When it comes to wiring, Profile Performance has it nailed down. The connectors are great. The wiring just makes sense. There's plenty of it. It's also a modular system, so if you need to add length, you can. The way it connects to the controller is easy, and if you have RGB or single color, there's really nothing to it. If you have the RGB version of the profile light, you've got this little 4-pin connector, and this little 4-pin connector connects to this splitter, and this splitter connects to the Bluetooth app. As you can see, it's a waterproof connection with 4 pins, arrows to help you out, a keyway to make sure it doesn't go in the wrong way, and each of these splitters is designed to handle 4 rock lights. So with the Bluetooth controller, you can do 4 sets of 4 rock lights off of one system. If the wiring on your RGB system isn't long enough, you've also got these extensions that go in between the splitter and the rock light wiring itself. It's also important with all these connections that it's waterproof. On this system, from the rock light to the splitter, it's completely waterproof. Now if you have the single color version, it looks like this. Very long, high quality cables that come out of a waterproof seal on the side of the rock light and 2 bare wires to hook it up. So the single color wiring is a little less advanced than other systems, but if you're going RGB, you can't beat the system from Profile Performance. The Pixel LED rock lights from Profile Performance have a fantastic way of controlling the entire system. It starts with this Bluetooth controller called the XBT. It has a power wire and 3 different channels with split outputs depending on what you're trying to accomplish. The way it works is you mount this thing in a waterproof area, and these JST connectors are plug and play to the splitters. The splitters then go to each of your rock lights, and each splitter can control 4 rock lights. So that means the Bluetooth controller from Profile Performance has a purpose-built waterproof connection system that can control up to 12 RGB rock lights or other RGB LED accessories along with your rock lights. You download the app, you pair your phone to the controller, and you've got a world of color and patterns at your fingertips. Not only do the rock lights from Profile Performance come in an RGB system that can do any color you want, but their single color pods are amazing. These don't use a colored lens at all. These are actual colored LED chips. In this example, we have a clear lens with several red high-power LED chips, and this color is fantastic. The profile performance rock lights are very bright, and because they're in a circular pattern, they've also got a very wide spread of light. This should do a really good job at covering the entire wheel well with only a couple pods. Now this next one I'm not responsible for. You all put me onto this. Introducing the 3-watt LED pod from C4offroad.com. They don't explicitly call this an off-road light, but in all of the advertising for it, they show this thing being used as a rock light in the wheel wells. I don't buy it. Take a look at mounting, for example. This thing is literally this non-waterproof cylinder with the world's smallest screw holes in it. And look at what they send you to mount this thing. This is insanity. These are the world's smallest rock light mounting screws I've ever seen. This isn't gonna work. There's absolutely no chance that this thing's gonna withstand anything except a couple sessions of mall crawling with your bros in the old dozer. Definitely not what you're looking for in a high quality rock light kit. To control this thing, you gotta figure it all out yourself. There's no components, there's no switches, there's no harnesses, there's absolutely nothing. You get 2 bare wires and then it's off to the races. As far as color goes, it's not a bad color. It's very vibrant and red. I'm gonna give them that. However, this LED is completely not waterproof. I guarantee you if you run this thing through any amount of water, you're not gonna be getting that color for much longer. There's no lens on it, and the LED chip is directly accessible with your finger or water or mud or snow, etc. This thing will fail if you actually use it in a rock light application. As far as brightness goes, it's really not bright at all. This thing would not do a very good job at illuminating the entire wheel well of your truck at night. I'd be surprised if you could get away with less than 10 of these per corner to get a good look compared to some of the other options. In an effort to get a diverse selection of rock lights, we got a couple random ones off of Amazon and eBay. This was one of them. I don't even think this is what the product looked like in the description. I got red universal rock lights and they showed up like this. There's the worst mounting of anything I've ever seen. The whole thing is this plastic bar with 2 screw holes and a really pathetic foam tape-backed seal. And the hole that the wires go through is so big, the water's gonna get in anyway. I mean, you can even see the bare wire on the back of this thing. I don't know how much these cost, but it wasn't worth it. However many dollars this system cost was burnt in a garbage fire. These things don't have wiring accessories. This is what you see is what you get. You got 10 inches of red and black wire that hook up to a power supply. Good luck how to get this from each corner of your truck to some kind of a switch. When we fire it up, there's really nothing to see here. The color is red and barely. These are white LEDs shining through a red lens, and it's not a very good looking product. This product is not bright at all. I would recommend if you accidentally order this kind of rock light, throw it in the garbage or return to sender and find something reputable. Another no-name product we got off Amazon for rock lights has this name on it, LED Mircy, I don't know. But it didn't advertise as that name and it showed up. And the funny thing is we've had this brand for headlights and they all were terrible. So I'm not expecting huge things out of this one here. The LED Mircy rock light kit doesn't really come with wiring. You've got the wiring that comes out the back side of the rock light and it's about 1 foot long, and then it has bare wires coming out from the side. So think about how much length you have to run in wiring to connect all of these together and go to the cab of your vehicle. It's a lot. If you just thought you could get this product and install it and be good to go, you are sadly mistaken. The other thing I really hate about their wiring is the wiring comes out the back. So if you are trying to mount this to a flat surface and you've got the 2 holes there, well, you're gonna need to drill a 3rd hole just for the wiring, and it's gonna go through the wheel well, and you're gonna have to figure out how to get it back up to where you want it to go. Good luck with that. The LED Mircy kit does not have a very good mounting solution. It comes with a bunch of random, cheap, sort of stainless steel hardware that might be enough for the whole kit. And then it also comes with a bunch of different adapters. There's more adapters in this kit than you have LED pods. Not that that's a bad thing, but it just makes it seem like it wasn't thought out very well. The way it works is you've got these tube mount kits, you've got flat spacer kits. This is just such a stupid product from a mounting standpoint. Let me show you how it's supposed to work. You've got these rubber adapters, and you're supposed to, line up the bolt holes with the bolt holes on the rock light, and then the wiring goes through like so. And then when you have it all lined up, then this side is not lined up. I can't even make it lined up because the wire that sticks out the back is getting in the way. But let's say they did line up. The screws that you get aren't even real stainless, and they're not even long enough to do anything with. That is not enough screw to mount this thing to anything. This is the least thought out mounting kit of any of these that we've even seen. The LED Mircy lights do not come with any type of out-of-the-box control system. If you want to hook these things up to a switch, it's up to you to figure that out. The wiring isn't there, it doesn't come with a switch. You are on your own to turn these things on and off. The LED Mircy light pods have an array of 3 LED chips, and they are the actual color of light that you want. It's not a filtered lens style like some of them have. So when you give it power, you actually get a pretty good looking color. The LED Mircy rock light kits are not very bright. As you can see here, it's casting a little bit of light, but it's not a very widespread and it's not very intense. The LY8 Rock Light kit looks exactly like the last one we did from LED Mircy. I kept one of those to show you. Really, the only discernible difference between the two is the type and number of LED chips on the inside. The mounting is the same, the mold of the assembly is the same, the back of them look the same. There's very subtle differences here and there, but you can tell that they're both kind of whatever, made by the cheapest manufacturer. As far as mounting goes, the LY8 comes in a pack like this, and you've got a tube spacer in case you're installing it on a roll cage. You've got the LED pod itself, and you have 2 fake stainless steel bolts with nylon locking nuts. Again, same problem with others that we've looked at. If you actually tried to install this thing on something, the wiring comes straight out the back, not the side like they should. And if you are going to use the spacer, the bolts really aren't long enough. Like some of the other rock light kits, as far as wiring goes, this is what you get. It's not a very good connection to the back of the light. The wiring has bare leads at the end. There's no relay harness, there's no battery connection, there isn't even a switch. It doesn't even come with the wiring to make it from the wheel well to a switch on your dash. You got to figure that out yourself. Now, because the LY8 has twice as many LED chips as the LED Mircy we just tested, it's going to be interesting to see if it's any brighter. LY8 rock lights only come in single color options, nothing RGB or RGBW. As you can see, they use pure filtered LED chips, and the color does not disappoint. It's a pure red color with a lot of density. The LY8 rock lights are not any brighter than the LED Mircy we just tested, which in my opinion is kind of surprising. These have twice the LED chips, and they don't really produce a whole lot more light. In my opinion, this 6 LED version of this rock light from China looks less bright than the last one we tested. The Rigid Industries LED rock light kit comes with some familiar looking hardware. You have an angled wedge spacer, and you have a short flat spacer depending on where you mount it, if it's on a curved surface or you need to space out past something. And then the rock light itself looks like this. You've got 2 holes in each side, and you've got the cable coming out the back. You know, honestly, this looks an awful lot like the last 2 that we just reviewed from LY8 and LED Mircy. Now, I'm not sure what came first, the chicken or the egg, but there's no denying some family resemblances here. Either Rigid's got some explaining to do, or this is another case of Chinese knockoffs that we've all come to know of in this industry. They've got the same shape, the same bolts, similar pattern on the face, and even the backside of the generic rock lights look very similar to Rigid. They are thicker, they are not the same product, but very similar. The biggest difference with the Rigid Industries light versus the generic knockoffs is going to come later when we talk about brightness and color, because what is inside is completely different and anyone can see that. One of the craziest thing about the Rigid rock light kit is the mounting hardware. This is literally the bag of stuff it comes with. This looks like something that you would find in a carpenter's toolbox. This hardware kit is chock full of a bunch of different types of long, stainless, metal self-tapping screws, machine screws, washers, nuts, spacers, wedges. Basically, if you need to screw this thing to something on your truck, you've got the hardware to do it, guaranteed. The wiring on the rigid pods is a little unfinished. You've got great wiring. This is good, heavy-duty, reliable wiring, but at the end of the day, you've got two bare connections. That's up to you to figure out how to handle it. You have some wiring that goes to the battery with a connection here and a fuse. You've got a little extension wire that might go to a switch, and you've got a long black wire that goes to your battery for ground. I think the way it's supposed to work is you have these battery terminal distribution blocks. So you run a cable from your positive battery to this distribution block, and from your negative battery terminal to this distribution block, and then you terminate all of your different pods from all four corners of the vehicle up to the engine bay at these two blocks, and then it runs to a switch. The control system given to you in the Rigid Industries kit is really just a single round red illuminated rocker switch. You find a good spot on your dash, you drill a hole, you pop it in. It's all pretty self-explanatory, but it's also a little DIY. If you aren't an expert at wiring, I'd recommend that you find a professional to figure this one out for you. The red color from Rigid Industries Rock Lights is fantastic. These are a completely different type of LED chip as used by anybody else. These are a true red LED, and they are super bright. The color from the Rigid Industries Rock Lights is fantastic. You can get them in white, yellow, red, blue, or green. A big reason why the color is better than most is because of the unique type of LED chips they use. You're not going to find these LEDs on any other product, period. These are the most high quality LED chips you can get, and Rigid really put them to use in this application. The Rigid Industries Rock Lights are pretty bright. As you can see, they really do a lot better job than the last few that we tested. These would be a great option to completely fill your wheel well with light. If we were judging rock lights based on product packaging, Opt7 would win. By far, they've got the best rock light presentation of them all, but we're not. When it comes to wiring, the Opt7 rock lights have a little bit going on, but not enough in my opinion. You've got the waterproof connectors, just like the Profile Performance product. That's good, nice work. You've got really long extension harnesses to get from all four corners of your truck to wherever your control box was. That's good, nice work. But then when it comes time to plug it into your vehicle, it's a little bit lacking. You've got the world's smallest ground wire, and you have to connect that to this thing. What's going on here? And then to power the whole thing up, you've got this laptop charger cord looking thing that will plug into the back, and you hook it up to your battery, positive and negative. There's very little going on here that's actually waterproof, but the idea is pretty solid. It really reminds me of some other products like Profile Performance. They also send you a couple fuse tap kits, which is handy in case you don't want to hard wire anything. So if you want to, it's pretty easy to find an ignition fuse or a battery fuse and just pop it in there. Then there's no custom wiring for the power. You still got to figure out the ground, but that's not that big of a deal. This is the beefiest rock light I have ever seen. In my opinion, it actually looks kind of cool. It looks like something that you would have ripped off of a Transformer from the movies, but instead it's a rock light that you bolt up to the bottom of your truck. You've got two mounting tabs on each side. They're beefy, they look very strong and easy to use. However, the hardware you get is just these little tiny, cheap metal self-tapping screws. They're Phillips, they don't feel very strong. I feel like if I hit it with a hammer, it would just explode. These are very brittle feeling screws, and if you buy this kit, I would not use these. And then also, you have this for mounting. If you're doing a tube mount, like on a roll cage or an ATV or something like that, you put the rubber spacer on the bottom side of the rock light. It's all designed very well. It fits together good. You've got this little escape hatch for the wire on the side, and then you use your self-tapping screws or whatever hardware you're going to use. And the openings for the screws is very small. If you want to do a nut and bolt option, that would be tough because of how little these are. You can't go with a bigger diameter hardware than this little guy. The Opt7 Quantum rock light control system has a lot going on, and other than the poor quality of some of the components, it's actually got some cool stuff going on. For example, this keychain remote control fob, and this very gnarly TV remote style RF remote. Now this whole thing feels a little 1995 to me, but I think that's kind of fun. This definitely feels like back in the good old days of controlling your lighting. The OP7 Quantum Rock Light Kit does have the RGB function, as you can see here. We can choose pretty much any color you want, but there's a couple functions on here that I can't really get to work. I can't get the brightness to do anything. On the OP7 remote, there's actually 3 places where you can control brightness. You have 2 buttons here, you have 2 buttons here, and then 4 buttons right below it. No matter what I do, it does not control the brightness, but it will control the color. So, I mean, we're not doing camera tricks here. The brightness doesn't change. So I have to assume that this is as bright as they get. With that being said, it's a humongous rock light. I'm not really sure if I would want something this big in my wheel wells. It's gonna hit stuff, it's gonna look ugly, and it's just not very bright. They missed the mark by that much. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the Vision X LED Rock Light Kit. Now, Vision X invented LED off-road light bars back in the day, so I have high hopes for this product line. The pods themselves have a very industry standard footprint with reinforced side mounting posts that come with this mounting kit here. It has a couple different spacers and adapters for different applications. You know, Vision X does a lot in the off-road and UTV market, so it makes sense that they've got a pole mount for an ATV application. And then you also have a flat spacer in case that's helpful for what you're trying to accomplish. The hardware inside are these little Allen screw, machine screws, and little tiny nuts and washers. And it looks like they're long enough to do the trick, but they're definitely not the most sturdy option that we've seen. If you were going to use one of the spacers and put the rock light on it, it goes through, it clears, and you actually have plenty of space on the other side to mount the rest of your hardware. The wiring system that comes with the Vision X kit is pretty impressive considering these are only single color lights. You can get this in an RGB or multicolor function, and normally the wiring for a single color system is not this well thought out. This entire system is your wiring to control the lights. It's got waterproof connectors, it's got long harnesses, it has a relay, it has battery connections. This is a really great wiring system for the rock lights from Vision X. As you can see on the rock lights themselves, they have very long wiring, so you shouldn't have any problem running from each of the 4 corners up to the front of the truck where your controller is located. When you do run the wiring up there, you have these great 2-pin waterproof style connectors that connect very easily. This is an industry standard style that a couple of the other options that we featured in this video have. And then it goes to the controller. The controller from Vision X seems very well thought out. The rock light connects to a splitter. The splitter is built into the distribution box. The distribution box has a relay harness that connects to your battery, positive and negative, and then it has a built-in switch. This system from Vision X is the most comprehensive rock light control system of any of the single color lights we tested today. The LED chips from the Vision X kit are very high quality Cree units that look an awful lot like what Rigid Industries is using. Therefore, these uniquely filtered small automotive grade chips create a brilliant red color that can't be beat. As expected, the Vision X LED lights have just as much power as their light bars, and this is an extremely bright option. When I shine it in front of me, I can illuminate the space brightly even though I'm using a color, which is kind of hard to do. I'm confident if I had 2 of these mounted in my wheel well, it would be extremely bright. What it all comes down to is these are the 3 best, whether you're talking about wiring, mounting, control, color, or brightness. You got Vision X, Profile Performance, and Rigid Industries. No matter what is important to you, this is where it's at. One of the things I wanted to see, because I wasn't comparing them all at the same time, was of the winners, which ones are the brightest? I'm pretty sure I can tell right now it's not going to be Profile Performance. I really like the Profile stuff because I love that Bluetooth controller. The mounting system and the wiring is second to none. Yes, it is not the brightest option, even in this single color, but it's probably the best kit out there. This is what we're putting on my Ford Super Duty. I believe that adding 2 of these to each wheel well is going to light it up plenty. However, if you want the absolute brightest possible and mounting, wiring, and control aren't quite as important, check out the difference between Vision X and Rigid Industries. The pods themselves are very similar. They use similar types of LED chips, a similar mounting system, a similar wiring system, and they look real similar also. From what I can tell, they're about the same brightness. The biggest difference is the spread of light. The Vision X Rock Light is very bright and it has a much wider beam pattern. The Rigid Industries Rock Light is very bright and has a more narrow beam pattern. As I bring it up, the spread from the Vision X Rock Light covers more ground on the table than the Rigid, but they're both extremely bright. I don't think you'd really be able to tell if you had Rigid on one side and Vision X on the other. All three of these best of the best LED rock lights are available at headlightrevolution.com. If accent lighting is what you're interested in right now, check out our other videos because we have whip lights, rock lights, wheel lights, LED strips for your grill, interior, and more.